What's up, everybody? It's DH Thorne here. It's interesting times, isn't it? Very interesting times. It's one of those times when ignorance seems to reign. When it seems like everybody is wrapped up in competing forms of propaganda. There's misinformation everywhere. So what do we need more than anything right now? We need a centralized authority to tell us exactly what is true. We need a big brother, big sister, maybe a little bit of both, to tell us what to think, to tell us what's true, to tell us to make sure that the information that we have access to is curated and is grade A, pure, unadulterated truth. I can't really say that anyone has access to the totality of worldly truth. I can't say that at all. I can tell you that it's possible to know the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is actually easy. It's actually really easy to discover the truth of your divine nature. But the worldly truth, that's what's obscured. It's easy to know that you are the divine. That's actually really easy. It does not take much at all. But to know the truth of the world requires not only seeing through the veil, requires seeing the veil itself, to see everything, to see what they're doing. So wouldn't it be nice if there was a ministry of truth to tell us exactly what we're allowed to think? This is upsetting. This is distressing. That we don't have such a source of truth to rely on, that we don't have someone to tell us for sure what's true. Indeed, we should be really grateful and thankful to these mega corporations, Twitter, Facebook, Google, Alphabet, YouTube, the mainstream media, for telling us what's true, for fact-checking us, for making sure that what we say is only the most verified truth possible. And if it's not, well, I want to be told how wrong I am. I want to have them come sitting on my shoulder to just and correct me. That's exactly what society needs. In fact, that's always a sign of the most advanced civilization, when the people are only allowed to speak what has been confirmed to be the absolute truth. Why, let's go back a few hundred years. It wasn't that far when we'd have people who dared to speak a mistruth. They would get burned at the stake. Those were the best times. That was the absolute pinnacle of human civilization. How dare we fall so far into thinking that we, the unwashed masses, should dare to have an opinion that defies theirs? How dare we? I, for one, welcome and cannot wait for the new ministry of truth to kick in. I can't wait for them to correct the narratives to whatever method they're going to use. I can't wait. We don't need freedom. No, 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 no. We need to have guidance, a firm hand. We need to be told. But you know what always happens? There's always some light bringer, some rebel, someone who dares. Someone who dares to counter the narrative, to defy the ministry of truth. That fallen being, that adversary, how dare they? We must cast them from heaven. We must burn them in the pits of hell. How dare they speak an unfavorable opinion of that authority? Join me, friends. Join me right now. Everybody, join me right now and thank and welcome that ministry of truth for making sure that only the truth is available to us. Let us hope that they defeat the evil one, this Lucifer character who dares to bring the light, who dares to reveal the truth. Let us hope that they cast them from heaven and burn them to the ash of the pit. In case you can't tell, I'm being a little bit sarcastic. About 2 years ago, I started to get what people might consider a little political. That's because I knew it was coming. I knew I couldn't keep my mouth shut anymore. I knew I couldn't just say, "Oh, everything's fine. I'm just gonna hawk books. I'm gonna be a grifter for magical content. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna sell my magic books and hope that everything will be fine. I'm not gonna have an opinion that might offend my customers. I'm just gonna play it safe." But then you know what? I knew it was coming. A lot of you guys do. Show of hands, how many of you guys are not surprised right now? Besides me. How many of you guys... My wife's peeping up in the background. Show of hands in the chat. How many of you are not surprised by what's going on? Within literally hours, from my understanding, when Elon buys Twitter, within hours, a ministry of truth is erected in the center of our culture. How many of you guys are surprised? Raise your hands if you're not surprised. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes. Give me a something. There you go. Atropa says hand. She's not surprised. I know Atropa's wise. She's very wise. There's a few of you. I'm sure Nina's not surprised. I'll bet you she's not. How many of you are not surprised? Gingenie's not surprised. What's up, Sinister Jinx? What's up, Go-Go? What's up, Joffrey? What's up, Mr. Mission Control? You know, I get a lot of your links, bro. I don't always watch them, but I definitely get them. Just so you know. I do appreciate that you send me that stuff. I don't get to watch most of it, but I know what you're trying to send me, and I approve. Thank you. Area Trance, what's up? If I'm missing anybody, forgive me. I will get to you. We're going to talk about more than just this current events crap. We're going to definitely talk about spiritual stuff. But if you don't see the fucking spiritual element to what's going on, you're a fucking moron. I'm not saying that with love. I'm saying that with adversarial intent. You're a fucking fool. 90% of the people walking around in the spiritual spaces online are superficial morons. That goes for some of my peers in the supply side of spiritual information. Most of them are fools. They're charlatans. They're frauds. Even some of the ones that I'm friendly with and like. Because they lack the ability to see. They're not sensitive. They're bookworms at best. I'm not saying that they're all liars. That's not what I mean. Just saying that the wool is over their eyes. They're blind. If you're blind to what the fuck is going on right now, don't at me. Don't ask like you're I'm going to sound a little arrogant. Don't act like you're on my level, and certainly don't act like you're on the level of the people putting their hands up in that chat. These people who may not have produced a single work of occult literature, who are raising their hands and recognize what's going on, are better than you. For they have eyes with which to see. They have been chosen. They are awakened. They know what's going on. Your little book of spells is bullshit if you can't see what's going on. Now, the good news is, if you can see what's going on, you also know that there is a silver lining to everything. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Nothing is certain. The future is always in motion because there is no future. There is only the world that we are meant to see. And that world we may be meant to see may be a bad one. But I see a light at the end of the tunnel. Their plan's failing. This is why they need a ministry of truth. This is why it's happening in such a clunky way. They're panicking. Maybe not the way we would love. A panicking animal, a big beast like they are, when they whirl around, people get hurt. But they're like a rider on a horse. They may think they're in control. They may hold the reins. They may have the stirrups. But that horse decides where it goes. When that horse decides it's had enough of that rider, guess what happens? Well, that's what's coming. So they're trying desperately to rein in that horse before it's too late. This is why things get hurt. Mr. Mission Control brings up CERN, which is interesting because just the other day, I felt a huge wave of relief. So whatever, if there is something to that, I don't know if there is or there isn't. Certain things I don't like to say with certainty because I think there's certain things that get a little bit, it's like a form of superstition to believe in, but I'm not so foolish as to discredit it and discount it. I definitely feel like whatever they pump into the environment, the ELF, whatever the hell it is, they have absolutely changed it a little bit. And I was feeling really good yesterday. Like they must have turned it on so that maybe certain people feel it in a good way, or they turned it off and it was a relief. I felt a huge relief yesterday and today too. I am not mad. I'm right. I have righteous fury, but I am not mad. I'm actually celebrating a little bit. This desperation move of creating a ministry of truth it's like Baghdad Bob from the Gulf War. He'd be sitting there. How many of you guys are old farts like me? At least Gen X or older. How many of you guys are old enough to know who Baghdad Bob was? You remember Baghdad Bob? The friggin' American tanks would be rolling around in the background. He'd be saying, "It's okay, there's no Americans here, we're winning." He would be defiant until the end with his bullshit. And that's kind of like what we're seeing right now. They wouldn't need a ministry of truth if they were winning. Do you realize that the only reason they would do that now, in such a haphazard, clunky, obvious way, like, if everything was going according to plan, they might still do it, but it would be coming out in a way we'd be grateful for. We'd be like, oh, good, there's so much misinformation, or we need a central authority. No. They're reacting. They're not responding. They're not planning. This is not an in-control system. This is a knee-jerk reaction. This is fear. This is damage control. So I'm celebrating this. This is a good thing. Learn to understand the bigger. Now, I may eat those words. Maybe they'll turn it around and it'll work out for them, but I don't think so. Because their hands are tied, number one, by the Constitution. There's only so much they can do with this ridiculous thing. assuming they even get it off the ground with all the lawsuits that are going to be aimed at it, there's only so much they're going to be able to do with it. They will not be able to censor us, not actively. What they'll be doing is giving guidelines to private industries, controlling, you know, suggesting what they're allowed to say, suggesting what they should censor. So some of these platforms like YouTube, Facebook, etc. are going to be a little bit difficult. But we got Twitter. And if it even matters anymore, we've got Truth Social. I'm not afraid. That doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. But I'm not afraid. This is an overreaction. It's a stupid move. The Constitution will be obeyed. See, the way they see it, they figure if they can get away with it for a few months, that might be all they need. If they can keep it going long enough, just like they were able to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop for a little while, if they can keep it going for a little while, it can do damage. But it's not going to last long enough to change the outcome. This is a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. They're not okay. So do not panic. Don't lose hope. One of the worst things in this movement are black-pilled doomers. People who look at everything going on, and they've been browbeaten for a long-ass time. So they think that everything is going to be worse. They only see the negatives. The thing about being a doomer is the stock's always rising because there's always something to be depressed about. There's always some L that you can focus on. Doomers are one of the worst kinds of people in any movement. They are as bad as Pollyanna optimists who never see the negatives. Ironically enough, the two extremes are the worst. So you need to avoid that at all costs. You need to have a positive outlook. You need to prepare for the worst, but act for the best. So the spirit of Lucifer is absolutely rising. This age of Aquarius, if you will. The light bearer is not fucking around anymore. Ooh, that gave me chills. He's not fucking around anymore. Prometheus is rising. Lucifer is rising. Phosphorus is rising. Horus is rising from the underworld and will be bringing his father through the sky. The Great Awakening is beginning. Not everybody's going to make it. But we don't have to. General Kenobi. Ooh, I think that's a really nice. I like that. There's a lot of things I wish I could say. There's things that I see, there's things that I know, there's things that I worry about, and there's things that I'm very confident about. There's certain things... Silence. You cannot speak silence into being. You have to know how to be silent a little bit. I wish I could be more silent. It's like one of my weakest things. Oh, I can keep secrets, trust me. I really wish that I could be as silent as some people. But then again, that's more of an egoistic wish. Why be silent when you're good at being loud? Did Lucifer stay silent when he rebelled against the demiurge? Did Lucifer say, oh, I guess I'll just keep this to myself? No, he climbed to the pinnacle. And he shouted, he sang at the top of his beautiful lungs. He pointed out that God was a liar, a pretender. The demiurge is not the true creator. It's not the true origin. It is not the true God. The demiurge's archons may be in control, but that control is conditional. Conditional upon your ability to be complicit. Lucifer awakened and is awakening the world. Yes, thank you, Atropa. That's what the apocalypse means. It means the great unveiling, the great revelation. That's why the book of Revelation isn't called the book of the apocalypse. It's called the book of Revelations. And it's about the apocalypse, which is a revelation, which is an awakening, a revealing. Yes, thank you. Every moment is an apocalypse, but there's a greater apocalypse upon us right now. When I was a young man, maybe it's time I start talking about this more. When I was very young and I started off my spiritual journey and magic and working with spirits, it began because I was doing work using hypnosis. And it actually started off as like a prank. I think I've told you guys this story before, but I'll recount it a little bit. Recount? Is that the right word? I don't know. I was about, I guess, 13 years old. And my friend and I were playing a prank on a friend of ours. I believe it was, if memory serves, this was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure it was float night. We decided not to go to float night. Now, float night is like this, school spirit thing that people have. I don't know if you guys have it where you are, but it's like a parade and like a party at the school and whatever. So we decided to do a ritual out of the Necronomicon. We were going to call the Watcher or whatever else. And so we made this bullshit ritual. We didn't follow the book exactly because, fuck, Necronomicon is not easy. I got respect for anybody who's able to follow the Necronomicon to the letter. Anybody. Because you got to get your timings just right and all that stuff. It's a form of celestial magic. Celestial theurgy. It just uses somebody's idea of Sumerian gods and Sumerian signs. Very interesting stuff. So we went into the basement, and my friend and I had this elaborate prank planned out. But it didn't quite go as planned. My friend began performing the ritual. And we kind of creeped ourselves out a little bit. We got spooked a little bit. We couldn't explain it. We thought we were just getting carried away. We thought we were getting carried away with the prank, and my friend and I looked at each other like, this can't be real. But I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's real. This is kind of spooky. And I remember being like the ballsy one, saying, I'm not scared of this. This is fake. This is nothing. Come on, this isn't real. Watch, I'm going to step out of the circle, and I'm going to, because we'd use a protective circle like all kids do. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. And I jumped out of the circle to test it, and I felt like this, this wave of a little bit of, like, fear come over me. So I jumped back in the circle. It was like, did I really just feel scared, or was that in my mind? Let me do this again. So I was like, no, I'm going to do it again. I feel like I got to find out. So I stepped out of the circle again, and I did this a bunch of times. And I went around my friend's basement, like looking for the cold spot, the fearful spot. Whenever I find it, I come running back. And at some point, it didn't feel like a game anymore. It felt like something was really there. I was getting chills, and the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck. My arms, the hairs were just standing straight up, and my friends all saw it. Like, you can't fake that. You know, you can fake a lot of things. You can't fake that. So I went out furthest from the circle. Just, I don't know, you know, as a 13-year-old boy, I was trying to prove that I was some kind of badass, I guess. Trying to prove I was a tough guy, I wasn't scared of anything. And I made it really far, and I froze. I felt absolutely terrified. And I ran back to the circle. And something possessed me to look through a doorway. There was like a doorway connecting two rooms, and we had it closed. Something possessed me to just, I don't mean I got possessed. I mean, I felt the urge to look through a doorway. And my friends were like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. We got to finish the ritual. Don't do it. Like, you're fucking it up because you keep leaving the circle. And we're like, if this is really real, we're going to get fucked. You're like, what are you doing? So, me being the willful bastard that I was, I decided I wanted to see what was on the other side of the door, just to test it, just to prove it was nothing, and I opened the door. What I saw, I still can't really describe. It was horrible. Yeah. It was just a brief flash. And the next thing I knew, it was like a blur of time and weird crap happened. And the next thing I knew, it was basically like the next day. And I woke up thinking, I know I experienced something, but I don't know what it was. I mean, I know, like, it's like when you have a dream and you know you dreamt something and you can see fragments of it, but you don't remember enough of it. And I called my friend and I said, you know, what's up, you know? Like, I didn't want to make it weird. And he's like, time to tell you what happened. He was like, he was short of breath trying to tell me. He's like, let me get my papers. I wrote it all down. And he told me what happened. He told me that I opened the door to the back boiler room, and I shrieked the most blood-curdling shriek that anyone present had ever heard. It was like I got stabbed, like in the most painful spot. And I stumbled backwards from the door back into the circle. My eyes were rolling into the back of my head, I guess, something like that. I was leaning backwards in an unnatural way, but not falling down. And my friends tried, I might be getting some of this a little off. I've sort of had to piece this together a few times. So some of this might be a little different. You know, this is like 30 years ago, guys, 32 years ago. And they were talking about how they tried to get me to the ground just to keep me, like, stable. And it took both of them pulling on me with everything that they had while I'm leaning at like a weird angle backwards to get me to go down. And then finally, I apparently went down and I wasn't responsive. It was like I was insane. It's like I lost my mind. And my friend who was in on it with me, we were trying to prank this other guy, remember? At first, like, he was like, he didn't know if this was just me, like, doing a really good job of acting or what. So I don't know whether it was because he thought it was part of the act or what. I think he was scared. He sounded scared on the phone. He started going through different exorcisms that he found, you know, that he had prepared for the prank. He started reading stuff. He went to random verses of the Bible. He read things from the Necronomicon, anything, just like you know, trying to brute force whatever this was, because I was acting weird. I was apparently clawing at the floor, growling, snarling, all the kinds of stuff like you'd expect. At some point, I finally started communicating. I don't remember if it began with like laughter or what. I don't remember how it happened. I know I wrote it in Shadownomicon, and that was a pretty accurate from memory. Like right now, I'd have to like go through it and remind myself. I remember something the effect of my friend saying, "Take me instead." Like he was always trying to like white knight everything. Take me instead. I am the good guy. I'm going to save my friend. And I just sort of laughed, and it wasn't me. And according to my friend, I had a feminine voice. My voice had like a two-tone almost to it. There was a feminine... I wouldn't say it was unnatural. I wasn't there, so I wouldn't know. He said it. I kept trying to say, like, was it something that I could possibly do? Like, was it? He said, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but it wouldn't be easy. To like, you had perfect feminine mannerisms, a female voice. And the spirit came forward and told us a story. The story that was told was one of many prior lifetimes. It was about all kinds of things. In fact, one of the first things that was said to us was to remember that the words being used were symbolic, that if it referred to things in the form of angels, that was just because that was the words we knew. They were not angels. Said something to the effect of, you know, I'm speaking to you in the language you would understand, but that's all it is. They're just words. They're symbols of the truth. They are not the literal truth. Don't take it too literally. This is all symbolic. And it told us about how in the multiverse, there were many dimensions, many worlds exactly like this one. And in pretty much all of them, there was a race of beings, a group of beings, a cabal of beings that were called, well, we called them the Horde. And these beings would devour the energy. They would devour the people. They would devour the energy. They would devour the life force of every world that they encountered. They were interdimensional. Yes, Atropa, spirit of the earth, remember. Spirit of the sky, remember. That's like literally, was probably like the line that triggered me. Like quite literally. Like I get chills just when you said that. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like the one. It told us that in our lifetimes would be an apocalypse. That this apocalypse would be when these beings came to our world and began feeding upon us. And that by the time we were old enough, when we were ready, there would be certain things to look for. Magic would return to the world. There was several other things that were supposed to happen. And that I and my friends would be leading a ragtag band to defeat these interdimensional monsters. And so, of course, what followed was the gradual creation of a end-of-the-world cult, in which I was the centerpiece, because I had this hypnotic connection to these other spirits that they would hypnotize me, and I would be channeling them almost every day. At least 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes every day. We filled up several 3-ring binders, spiral binders, excuse me, like those spiral notebooks, several thick spiral notebooks, like the 3-section notebooks, 5, I don't know what they were. We filled up bunches of those things. I would channel, they would write. And then they would compare the things that were said. They would research things. Remember, we didn't have the internet, so we were a little bit limited. And what ended up happening was my friends would do research. They would find things. Like, you know, this is just like what was said in this thing, and this is just like that. Things I had no idea about because I was never very educated, guys. Some of you guys know very well I don't read much. I am not very well educated. I'm kind of an imbecile, except I have a high IQ. I'm very intuitive. I just sort of know stuff. You know, there's this thing in occult spirituality and cult psycho-spirituality that I'm into that I learned to be interested in because of people like Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell, for those who don't know, was a comparative religion, comparative spirituality, comparative myth, whatever. Did like things like The Power of Myth and all these other books. And he compared the mythologies of many different cultures. And it opened my eyes to the fact that there are symbols, archetypes, that reoccur regularly in human civilization. Carl Jung turned them into the archetypes of the collective conscious. You know, what is it? The sage, right? The everyman, I think it was. You know, all of his different, 9 of them. That's just referring, and that wasn't meant to be a complete list, by the way. You know, you even said this is just 9 prominent ones. Well, it's more than just that. There are other things that repeat in every culture, even ones that are completely independent from each other, end up with, you know, many different things that are, you can find them in every culture. Many cultures, for example, have a story, well, of a flood, which leads us, you know, that's more of an anthropological thing, which leads us to think that there was something in human history which I think was the Elder Dryas event, and I think that was Atlantis sinking. I think that was whatever they called it, whether it was Atlantis or not. Some civilization was lost. This is recorded in every, early culture, every single one. Any culture old enough with an old enough record has some record of their ancestors being kicked out of the Garden of Eden and their world being flooded or engulfed in some kind of a disaster, some cataclysm that destroyed their main city and their main garden and their main world, right? This is not unique to Judaism at all. But there is also a reoccurring theme of a lost city or a city in general. That's another one. But the one that's really coming to mind here is every single culture has a myth about the end of the world and what it will look like and what it's going to mean and what's going to happen. And surprisingly, they often agree on a lot of levels. And I say that because in these channelings, I was saying things that could be traced as if I was accessing something in collective conscious, some seed, so that I would be like, taking different, I don't know, I would be just telling them what I saw. And be like, hey, that's a lot like that city from that story. Have you ever heard that? Well, not really, no. Have you ever heard of Shangri-La? No. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of that? No. Oh, that's a lot like this story. I think it was like the Book of Enoch, which you just told us. Really? I never heard of that. I mean, how could I know? Like, the Book of Enoch wasn't even a thing for a 13-year-old kid who wasn't into this stuff. I was like, I don't know what I was. I was like into martial arts and ninjas at 13 or 14. I had no interest in the occult. It wasn't even on my radar. Like occult stuff, spiritual stuff, anthropological stuff, no interest at all whatsoever. If I believed in this stuff, I would swear on a stack of Bibles that I had no interest in it. I was a good little Christian Baptist kid. All I knew about what was in the Bible and science, and wasn't even good at that. One of the things that I talked about was a lost planet between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter. I had no fucking clue that there was this Sumerian epic about the destruction of Tiamat and Kingu. No fucking clue. No one ever told me that. And I never even read it anywhere that, like, some people think there was a planet that was either there and got destroyed or it was a failed planet or something. But I talked about how there was a planet that was once there, either in another dimension or what, I wasn't sure, but it was there and then it was destroyed, and that is where part of humanity came from. In these stories, it was almost literally the Sumerian creation myth where Enki gave the blood of the dragon Kingu to humanity to give us wisdom. Almost the exact same story, because in my story, it was a planet in which there were half-dragon people already, that when the world was destroyed, they came to Earth to settle, because that was the only other habitable world, and they somehow came here using magic or something outrageous. They came here and survived and intermingled with us, and the primitive humans that they interacted with were uplifted because of that, but their blood was demoted, of course, in the process. This serpent blood, this dragon blood. I had never heard this story in my life. I was 14 maybe at that time, maybe 15. Sumerians, what are those? What do they mean, like the Good Samaritans from the Bible? Is that what that is? Or Conan the Cimmerian? What are we talking about? I had no fucking clue what this shit was. My friend's like, did you ever hear of Edgar Cayce? I'm like, no. Did you ever hear about the Cimmerian stuff? No. Even the little bit that's in the Necronomicon. Remember, I never read the Necronomicon as a kid. My friend did. He was the one who did the ritual. I was just going to be the guy who just sort of paid attention to it. Eventually I did. But at that time, I had no clue. I wasn't a bookworm. I didn't fucking care about that shit. I was like a wannabe martial arts jock at the time. It wasn't, I wanted to join the military and beat people up. I wasn't interested in anything. It's frustrating to me. You can ask Eddie, because Eddie gets some of my conversations. Like, we talk sometimes on the side. I'll tell him ideas I've had, and he'll do the same thing. Or I'll be like, you know what I just found out? This thing that I was just working on is something that apparently is not new. I keep reinventing the wheel. I'm not special in that way. I'm sure a lot of you guys have that experience too, but that seems to be like the MO of my gnosis is it's always somebody else's gnosis that I'm channeling, I guess. It's like there's nothing new under the sun, I guess. All of this is symbolic, though. The part that I want as the takeaway is never take anything literal in these channelings. If you ever do channelings, I'm not saying there will be nothing literal, but I mean, think of it like a dream. Dreams are symbolic. And people will go overboard trying to analyze the symbolism when it's usually very simple. You know, people will be like, well, I dreamt about a big bad Bigfoot with, you know, red eyes and red fur chasing me. And you're going to get somebody to be like, ah, those eyes and the fur symbolize this. Keep it simpler. You were being chased by a Bigfoot. Well, yes, it was a Bigfoot because, no. Just, you were being chased by something scary. Your subconscious mind works in very simple terms. It doesn't work in complicated terms. It works in very simple terms. And when those symbols are present, they tend to have synonyms. So like the rebel appears to us in many different forms. Like the same rebel that Lucifer was represented by Prometheus. A little bit of Phosphorus, a little bit of Horus, a little bit of Enki. This is why Lucifer is compared to those entities all the time. One could argue that the same source that gave us Lucifer as a fallen angel rebelling against God was also Enki, who was a bit of a rebel. There's also potentially Loki, who was also Poseidon, actually, interestingly enough. Because Enki is equated, you know, he's got the trident. He's equated roughly with Poseidon and Shiva, actually, interestingly enough. I know some people disagree. They're going to say Enki's more like, Vishnu? I don't think so. I think Enki's more like Shiva, but that's just me. So you can make all these interesting comparisons so that they're rooted in the same essence, and then the symbolism follows. And so whatever was going on with me, I was rooted in the same essence, and then a bunch of symbolism poured out of me. And that symbolism, when extrapolated, is exactly the same or similar enough to other symbols in other cultures and histories and occult things that it's like wild as fuck to me. And a little depressing because I wish I had it documented still. I wish, well, my good friend who did most of the documentation, there was two of them. One of them is dead now. He died in, what was it, 2004, 6, or 8? I think it was 2004. I don't remember for sure. I have to look it up. And the other one is like a mortal enemy of mine. No, like absolutely, like I will not talk. Like I would punch him dead in his fat face if I ever saw him again. So I won't ever get the chance. There are some people who were there in the beginning that if I could get them to do an interview with me, I could probably have them corroborate a lot of this. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because so many of the things that are happening right now were indicated by this story that I was told. Many of the signs have happened. Magic would return to you and your allies. You would learn to do magic again. 2018, I returned to magic. Interesting. There would be wars and rumors of wars. That's in the Bible. That was like, I repeated that. I think I just recalled that. a lot of people would go missing, especially children. Ooh, doesn't that sound familiar? Many people will go missing mysteriously, especially children. Hello, Epstein. Hello, Epstein Island. Magic will return, and here I am, doing this. Here all of you are. People would have to get to sanctuary. People would have to, the people who were aware and awake would have to take sanctuary. And then after that period of sanctuary, they would begin to emerge and fight back. Well, lo and behold, we had a period of sanctuary because of the unmentionable Koof. We all had to be stuck in our homes, hiding, while the horde rampaged around our world, taking our territory, taking our wealth, taking our freedom. And now here we are. We're starting to emerge from our sanctuary and fighting back. And then the war would truly begin. And here we are at the precipice, not of an international World War III. That's always possible, but that's not it. The war is going to be an internal one, a spiritual one, psychological one, an informational one, a civil one. It may even be bloodless, interestingly enough. It was always supposed to be fought with magic. It's why magic was supposed to return to some of us. And by magic, it doesn't necessarily mean bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. It means psycho-spiritual energy, belief, the ability to use propaganda, the ability to use psychology, the ability to use ritual, visualization, all of the things that we teach and work with. Everybody who likes my work knows what I'm talking about. There's going to be a major component of it. Yes, some physical stuff, of course. There's going to be a psycho-spiritual war, not just a physical one. So we're on the precipice of this war. And I got to tell you, it's going to still get worse before it gets better. But when it's over, almost biblically, there will be a new heaven and a new earth. There will be a new shining city. The question is, who's going to run it, though? Will it be us, those who desire freedom and prosperity, or those who would enslave us? I happen to think that ultimately freedom is going to win. It's sort of like Jurassic Park. You know, nature will find a way. Nature represents freedom in every way. Nature's default is freedom. You can't go against the will of God, as it says in Dune, and God is nature. You cannot go against nature. In nature, the Tao is free. Freedom is inevitable. Slavery is the temporary. Slavery is the delusion. Freedom is the ultimate and is inevitable. It doesn't matter what they do, because in time, even if they get their tyranny, then their world will collapse. Because you cannot continue with a centralized authoritarian system. It doesn't work long. Yeah, it has a good staying power, but they always eventually crumble. They always eventually fall into their own footprint. That is the lesson of all histories. All empires fade and die. But humanity, especially in its freest form, is indomitable. So this is why I've been on this political kick for a while now. This is why I act like I know what I'm talking about. even though I tend to spout conspiracy theory type shit and take certain sides in things that may seem a little strange to people who are used to being in this community of misfits. This is why I'm open about this, because I'm supposed to find my people. I'm not supposed to be alone. No, none of you are either. You're all supposed to find people like you. How many of you guys are here are spiritual left-hand path or not, spiritual rebels who get what's going on? I'm sure a lot of you think you do. How many of you actually get what's going on? As I said earlier, there's a lot of people who are spiritually blind to what's going on. They've devoured the propaganda hook, line, and sinker. And we're all succumbing to some propaganda, myself included. It's impossible. It's like how they're finding microplastics in everybody. Nobody's immune to the propaganda, that's for sure. But some people are able to still see through it well enough to see where things are going, who are the ones that are trying to destroy us and who are not. I got news for everybody watching this. I know some of you may have voted for the current establishment. I really hope, whoever you guys are, I'm sure there's at least a couple. I hope you guys who did that realize that you enabled this censorious bullshit. You guys are on the side of the censoring, or well, were. I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't now. But I'm sure some of you guys are like, what the hell did I unleash on the world? Oops. I really hope that it's starting to become obvious. You can even sit there and say, well, I don't trust the other side. Fine, I'm not saying trust the other side, but to trust the side that's in power now? I mean, I love being right as much as the next guy. I wish I was wrong about that one. I remember when 2020 happened, when the election happened, I remember I was really upset. And then I said to my wife, you know what? Let's just try to get with that vibe of happiness that some people have. Let's try to just enjoy the other side's joy. Let's siphon that off with some vampiric energy a little bit. Let's masquerade like we're happy too. Just for a minute. But I knew what was coming. And I just figured, let me just bide my time and gird my loins and be prepared, because it's coming. Embrace the suck. That's right. Me Too says people need to draw their line in the sand to be willing to fight them when it's crossed. I don't mean violence. Yeah, but let's just say it's opposite day, because on some level, we're not there yet, but on some level, it may come to that. It may. I'm not saying that we're going to do it. I'm going to be a pacifist. I have no intention. I'm a pussy. DARPA, FBI, Google, Alphabet. No interest at all whatsoever. I will never be involved in any of that. Not even a little bit. Eddie, I couldn't disagree more. I don't think that El Donaldo was a tool to make all this happen. I genuinely don't. If that's the case, then this is a no-win scenario, my friend. If that's the case, you might as well go and put yourself in a hole, because that means there is no way out. That means that all of this, even now, is exactly as they plan, and we're so fucked, because if we even think that there's a way out, they already control it. That's doublethink, dude. You don't have to think that that's a good guy to recognize that they are fully in opposition to what's going on, and everyone that they're allied with is too. I think you swallowed me. You know what I think. I still respect you so much, brother, and I do love you, my friend Eddie. I want you to know that you're one of the few people who think the way you do, who I'm still willing to respect. That says a lot, because if people who know me know I don't have that in my heart for most people. Most people, look, I'm not a nice person. I want to be brutally honest. I am not a nice person. I don't have a lot of forgiveness in my heart. I have a lot of patience. I have a lot of stoic ability to tolerate, but I'm not a nice person. I'm not a good guy. I hold resentment and hate in my heart. Even as a compassionate being, I can hate and have compassion at the same time. But you have to understand, we're beyond this idea of Mr. Mission Control said two-party, same-wing vulture. Yes, but we're not talking about two parties anymore. We're talking about people who want to have a globalist system of control and people who don't. And both of those two sides have different groups vying for attention and power. One is a little bit more nationalist in their freedom. One is more anarchistic in their freedom. Right now, it don't matter. If they happen to be a nationalist, oh well. So long as they're not actual bigots and racists and Nazis, cool with me. You know, being a nationalist isn't a bad thing. It was actually, once upon a time, the liberal perspective was to love your country. There was nothing wrong with loving your country once upon a time. That's an evil, dirty word because globalism doesn't want you to love your country. Why? Because there's too much sovereignty to be had in a decentralized system. Don't you get it? Nationalism, though it is not perfect, at least represents global decentralization. And a good nation will have decentralization within in the form of states and cities and municipalities and counties and things of that nature, which is why the founders created a very decentralized system of government here in the United States, which leftists have been undermining for a long time. I'm still wholeheartedly liberal. I'm not a conservative, although there's a lot of conservatives now saying that true liberalism is a form of conservatism now because it's shifted so far out of whack that it basically is. I get that argument, dude. I totally get that argument. William Lattin says it very well. Globalism wants you to have zero identity. They want you to be a number. They want you to be a chattel, quite literally. Not cattle, chattel. Property. The state thinks they own you, which is why they think it's their right to force you into inoculations and force you into this and that and pay taxes and so on. I am way more interested in dealing with conservative Christians as the enemy than I am with globalist leftists. I know how to beat one of them. The other one, if they get control, we're not beating them. I'm just telling you straight up. If the leftist globalists win, we're not getting out of it. If Christian conservatives win, we just mock them back into their corner again. That's it. We're not going to go back into the burning times if the Christians get back in control of our government. Relax. Stop being so tribal about it. I'm even willing to look upon certain kinds of leftists like Russell Brand. He's a type of leftist. I'm actually cool with him. If all leftists were like him, we wouldn't be in this situation. He believes in decentralization. Cool. That means he's open to the idea that, hey, if we're decentralized, that means you can have a capitalist right wing and a left wing and blah, blah, blah. You can have all that. It's not centralized under a global authority. We're fine. So Russell Brand style leftism, I'm cool with. I like that. Quantum Ragnarok. That's a good way to put it. You know, I got to tell you, like, out of the Norse stuff, as much as I love Odin, and Odin's my favorite of the, oh, what's the word for it? What type of gods? Oh, shit, my memory fried. But while Odin's my favorite of the good guys, I guess, I'm definitely, like, Team Fenrir. I'm not going to lie. Fenrir's story is just so like, damn, I sympathize with Fenrir so much, like so much more. And my wife, my beautiful, wise wife, says, my problem with Russell Brand, he's an actor. Maybe he says what he does because he sees the tide turning, getting in good graces. I don't think you're necessarily wrong, but the thing is, I'm okay with that. I'm not expecting loyalty. I'm expecting utility. If they're saying the right things and they're going to stick to it for a while, good. I don't care if they're a coward. If they're on the right side of history, they're on the right side of history. Done. Done. Wyatt was, Wyatt, you have very nice hair. Wyatt says, I won't be able to catch this one because of that, unfortunately, but say some nice things about Cult of Cthulhu. Those guys are pretty cool. I think they wanted me to, like, I don't remember. I feel like they hit me up on Instagram or something. They seem like pretty cool people. Tell them to approach the I think they do already in one of their books. They approach some of this stuff from a non-dual perspective, which is, or at least a modest, interesting perspective. Pretty cool stuff. But anyway. So yes, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. I said braggingly, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. Because in 2020, I was the first occultist of record, of note, to come out politically, or one of the first. I was in that first wave. I've already believed all these things, but I figured, things are okay. I don't have to talk about it. I can just keep my mouth shut. Things are going well enough. Something told me to speak up. And I'm glad I did, because I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off early enough. And the people who were able to stick around and not judge me, I appreciate them. I've actually intentionally tried to shake certain people. Not necessarily specific people, but certain kinds of people. I have done a lot to try to shake them from following me. If you guys follow my Facebook, you know that I frequently post stuff that I know is either going to be agreed with by my kind of people or is going to shake loose the people who don't like me. Anybody who follows my Facebook, give me an asterisk if you know what I'm talking about. If you follow my Facebook and you've seen me post things and you can tell, Thorne's trying to weed out the jerks again. Good night, Mr. Mission Control. Thank you for being here. I don't think I've seen you in my live streams before, but I'm glad you came. Good to see you. How many of you guys know that that's a thing that I do? People think, Thorne's stepping in it this time. Nope. Sorry. That's usually intentional. I'm either looking for a fight or I'm trying to get rid of people that I don't want following me. Because there's one Bible parable that I love. There was a story in your Facebook is trash. Thank you, Suni. There's one parable in the Bible that I love. And that was where, I forget the exact story, but I guess it was, they were going to go to a battle and God told, what was it, Jacob or whoever it was, go to the river and, watch when your army drinks water and look for the ones that are like looking up and have their eyes open, and the ones who are just drinking with their head down. And the ones that are drinking with their head down, get rid of them. Don't use them. Use the ones that are looking around. I do that all the time. I'm always trying to find ways to pluck out like the weeds out of my following. Not by lying. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not doing things that I don't believe, but I like to test and see who the people are that are nice, who get it, who can be respectful, people who are on the same wavelength. You know, people can follow me wherever they want. They can follow me on YouTube. They can follow me wherever. I have a lot of public spaces, but my personal Facebook page is sort of like my filter. And people who follow me on that Facebook page, I post whatever. Because I don't want numbers. I want quality. I want to be surrounded by people that are... I don't even want people necessarily think the way I do. Look at who's here. You have people like Eddie who doesn't agree with me. Am I triggered with Eddie? Do I hate Eddie? No. He's one of my best, better online friends right now. We disagree about certain things very strongly. I get accused, Thorne, you don't like disagreement. No, I have no problem with disagreement. There are existential disagreements, though, that changes things. Like if you said, oh, give up your guns, now we're going to fight. You say, oh, you got to give up your freedom of religion, now we're going to fight. We're not going to get along. That's not a disagreement we can have. We can't agree to disagree on certain issues. So I'm sorry. Maybe that's why I'm a bad businessman. Maybe that's why I'm not doing as well in 2022 as I was in 2019 and 2020. I'll eat that if that's the case. It was depressing for a minute. I don't think that that's exactly why. I think that there's also, like, people are just not doing as well financially. So that gives me a little bit of trouble. But if it's because I'm outspoken and I pissed off people who were willing to buy my crap, oh well, fuck them. I'm not looking for riches, guys. Never was. I mean, you know, there was a twinkle in my eye for a minute there when things were going well, but certainly wasn't my main focus. I wanted to do this whether it was money in it or not. I figure it's one of those things where, like, you do what you love, and eventually if people like it enough, they'll support you. That's how it works. Anyway, enough about why I talk shit. But the thing is that I was ahead of the curve compared to a lot of people because they were afraid to lose their little niche. Sonny Newman wants to know, what's my opinion on voodoo spirits? I don't have one. No opinion on them at all whatsoever. I do not recall. I have no opinion. I've never worked with them. Not really my thing. I will say that there's parts of it that are definitely interesting. Yeah, you know, Baron Samadhi, for example. If I was going to work with voodoo, I would probably definitely want to look into Baron Samadhi. But no, I'm not into voodoo. It's not my thing. Although I will say that it's pretty interesting that a lot of the things from voodoo are emulated, either because they're emulated from voodoo or vice versa, or it's all just occurring synonymously and synchronistically with each other. But you have the veves or whatever, basically the sigils for the Loa. And a lot of the things that we do, even things that I do, are very relatable to what voodoo practitioners do. Voodoo practitioners do. So like the way an altar is used, although generally a voodoo altar is a little bit, you know, a friend of mine said like sloppy, but it's not sloppy. It's like lived in, you know, like you have wax all over and stuff. Whereas a lot of times I keep things clean. So that is kind of like the difference, but otherwise I don't really have a strong opinion. I would say that if I were to look into it a little bit deeper, if it was really my bag to do, I bet you if I looked, you would find that they synchronize with, you know, those archetypes just like any other pantheon of spirits does. And I bet you that there is some relationship between those spirits and the ones that we talk about, you know, in, we'll say, Hellenistic or Norse or whatever. I'll bet you that there's somewhere in deep history where there's a connection. I'll bet you. I don't know, because like I said, this is not my bag. I'm not into voodoo. I really don't. My knowledge of voodoo is probably like on the level of like pop culture, to be honest. I don't know much. I suppose I could read through Coetting's, you know, book on the subject, I suppose, but I wasn't interested in that either, so I'm sure I could find better sources than that anyway, or at least equally as good. I'm sure I probably know people that would teach me a lot. Like I know some people who practice it and they don't talk about it openly because their skin's the wrong color. So Dan Bess asks, do you work with any angels? Not well. Define angel. Define angel, Dan, and I'll answer that maybe for you in a minute. Sunny asks, can voodoo spirits reside in the same town as a demonic spirit, or would they chew on each other? You might be a little new to my work and my perspective on what spirits are. I consider that more of a supernatural perspective, superstitious perspective on what spirits are. I am not theistic at all. Meaning I do not recognize spirits as theistic beings that are to be taken literally. They are living egregores, just like any other spirit. You're a living egregore. They're pretty much the same idea. They're sort of made up. At least their superficial elements are made up. So, for example, Thor. Most of what we know about Thor is a story. But the essence of Thor is something that is higher and invisible. The spiritual essence of Thor is an archetype in collective conscious that manifests in the form of the symbolism of Thor. So in a very similar sense, all spirits work the same way. And this is my finding, my understanding. I don't care if it's the same as everybody else's. This is just how I do it. And so what that means is I don't work with spirits to work with the spirits. I work with spirits as an overlay, like an interface for what they represent. So when I talk about, when I talk about Lucifer, the fallen angel Lucifer, I am not literally talking about a literal fallen angel that fell out of heaven because God kicked him out. I don't believe any of that actually happened. What I am actually describing is Lucifer, the fallen angel, as sort of like a conduit or an avatar for the things that myth represents that are real. I'm not saying they're not alive. It's just that my definition of what's alive is maybe a little different. I believe that stories can be alive. So like, Superman has a life. Superman has a story, and it evolves as the generations go by. When Superman was first written about, it was clearly, inspired by, we say inspired by, that's really like born out of, inspired by a combination of things, but some of the ones that are the most important would be the same things that the demigods and the Nephilim were created out of. Gilgamesh, Hercules, a little bit of Achilles, probably. Mostly Heracles and Gilgamesh, though. If you look, Superman is basically Gilgamesh and Heracles with some American symbolism, anti-Nazi shit thrown in. So that's Superman. So Superman is sort of the continuation of that archetype, but he's now wearing his underwear on the outside. People don't love to hear that because they want to take it really seriously and be theistic about it. But that's actually more like what's happening. So the same thing that those spirits represent, Superman represents. This is why people can conjure Superman literally. I know a guy, I've had him on the channel. He works with the archetype of Superman in ritual, and it works for him. Both of these testicles. Thank you, Eddie. You can conjure pretty much any spirit or any fictional character, including Lovecraft's. Interestingly enough, Lovecraft's gods make a lot of sense from a certain point of view. You can approach Lovecraft's outer gods and old ones and all that through like non-dual lens, and they make a lot more sense. I don't know what Avoids Pikes is talking about with the freaking. He says, I'm too old for this, but Twizzlers and Moscato don't go well together. It'll give you acid reflux. Just woke up, feel like crap. You know what it is? I think the Twizzlers, because they have that, like, what is it, that carnauba wax or whatever. And it can definitely give you, I love, when I was able to eat sugar before I went on keto, I love Twizzlers because they're like not super sweet, but they're kind of filling because they're chewy because of that wax. So I was able to eat, like I used to eat those, well, like candy. I used to eat them like really bad. Like they were my favorite thing at the movie theater. And I used to use them like straws in my soda. But no, I totally agree. Because if you have too many of those, because they don't digest right, man, bloop, that would really get me. Like the worst thing to throw up. Hammer and Tong says, many spirits were here before man, the same way the trees were. The essence, for sure. The archetypes, for sure, no question. The superficial personifications are recent. So we'll go with Thor. Okay, Thor being, you know, basically Jupiter, basically Zeus, basically Enlil? Yeah, Enlil. Basically Baal Hadad. Those various personifications are masks for the essence, the archetypal essence that they represent. So they represent an archetypal essence that is the same, but they are superficially different, and they're alive, they evolve, they change, they grow. They're the children of the original essence. Sort of like how the Greeks, see, when people look at Greek mythology, my school of thought is the Greeks weren't the superstitious fools that modern people think that they were. I think that the ancient Greeks, at the very least, the people in the inner orders knew that the gods were not literal. Maybe some of the peasant people believed in them literally, but I don't think that the inner orders thought of them as literal deities. They saw them as superficial personifications of something, and this is actually held up because of the way that they work, and because of how they were basically children of much more primal essences until you go back. So you have this hierarchy starting with the primordial void, which was an impersonal entity, which is chaos, which is Brahman, which is whatever, you know, the multiverse, the universe, the void, the abyss. These are all words that are saying the same thing. Okay, so the primordial void, the primordial chaos, within it was found all possibility, all name and form, all namarupa from your Vedic sources was found within primordial chaos. That is to say, within primordial chaos exists all potential. And when primordial chaos gave birth to the earliest gods, it's not meant to be literal birth. You have to use it symbolically. The symbolism of begetting, the symbolism of giving birth to, the symbolism of them coming out of as children of, isn't meant to be literal, like somebody fucked and a baby popped out or anything like that. It's symbolic of a hierarchy of development. You have primordial chaos, which then within that chaos is found everything else. And these things are the essences. These essences are unspeakable things. The divine essence of something is it's invisible, unspeakable, ineffable. It is not something that you can equate to its symbolism. So somebody brought up the Greeks are also high on that mathematics juice. Yes, and they were very wise because they understood that the notation of mathematics was not the essence of mathematics. The numeral 2 is not the same as the actual essence of 2. We, as people who are educated in the formal society we're in, we just assume that that's the case, that the numeral 2 is the number 2, that the number 2 and the numeral 2 are the same thing. They're not. The number 2 is a symbol that points to something invisible and ineffable that is the essence of two-ness. That's Plato's Forms, by the way. And Plato's Forms didn't go far enough, in my opinion, at least not in the written stuff I've read. Plato's Forms is quite superficial. It's quite idealistic. We have to go beyond his idea of forms. We have to go to the essence of the forms themselves. And this is why I like the Vedic stuff better, Namarupa, the idea that all name and form is illusory, and the true essence is invisible and nameless. Oh, I see. Dan Best is talking about. No, I've never worked with them. Dan Best, no. I've never worked with Gabriel or Michael, no. Mainly because they just don't appeal to me, but I would also argue that the archangels are actually translatable to basically celestial, gods, things like that, that exist in other things. So, Raphael might be, what was it, Mercury? I forgot. So he's like, he's like related to healers and so on. Sonny Newman says, you're very opinionated. Thank you, Sonny. I appreciate that. That's very, very observant of you. Thank you. A lot of people say opinionated in a negative way. A lot of people would say that's an insult. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. That means I'm very firm in what I understand. Yeah. When people say that you're opinionated and mean it in a negative way, it means they're threatened by what you have to say. That's all it means. So if you meant that negatively, that just means you're threatened by my opinion. That's all. Iron Maiden reference. Woo! Yeah, I forget. If you want to have a good idea of, my opinion, a good idea of the archangels, like what they can be better understood as, look up, Damien Eccles. Watch his videos. He's got some really incredible videos, which, it might be debatable how accurate they are completely, but I think he's on the right track, especially with his when he equates the angels to, whatchamacallit, to the cardinal directions and stuff like that. Like, I think he's got a really good point. So check him out. Sonny Newman says it wasn't a compliment. Well, fuck you too, bro. I'm not impressed. Really don't care. Don't care. I mean, I care, but not enough to care. Does that make sense? Try not to be rude, though. I tend to block rude people. Just so you know. But then basically what I said I actually mean, then that means that you're threatened by my opinion. You're a weak person. I'm not impressed by you. You can disagree all you want, but if you want to say you're very opinionated, that just means you're threatened by what I have to say. You're unable to counter it. So you're weak. Not interested. Damn right, Eddie. We're all opinionated here. You should be. Okay, yeah, definitely look. Damien Eccles is like freaking awesome. So check him out, especially if you know his story. Oof. Boop. Bye-bye, Sonny. Oh, is that the Damien Eccles angels are the cosmic chakras? I like that one. Yeah. Chakras are an interesting symbol. I definitely like, don't take them too literally. Chakras are actually really valuable. I like to see them as centers of attention and awareness in your psycho-spiritual complex, like the thing that you think you are. I think it's very useful. Hector Lich. I mean, I don't disagree. He says, I have nothing but respect for Damien, but his spirituality is a little too world-denying for me. I love the flesh, but what can I say? Just because I love the guy and love his work doesn't mean I agree with everything he says. I think he's a really good resource, and he's a nice guy, I think, at least from what I can tell. He hides his eyes, though. And I wonder about that. Like, he always wears sunglasses. And he's a very wise person. He probably knows to hide his eyes because that is the windows to the soul. I have to look up and see if he's ever said why he likes to wear sunglasses all the time. But I read eyes, and I don't like that I can't see his eyes when he's talking. So it does make me wonder sometimes. But he's been through so much, I give him a lot of slack, if that makes sense. Like I'm willing to overlook any heebie-jeebies I might get from him, from that. I think, like I said, I think he's got eye damage. Thank you, Atropa. Thank you. Yeah, so maybe that's a good excuse. I don't know. I like to read eyes, though. When I can't see eyes, it makes me uncomfortable. He did talk about it? All right, cool. Eddie says, pet peeve, people who think that the seven chakra system is the one true valid system. There's as many as 114, depending upon who you ask. And that's just the main ones. There may be thousands of them, but the main ones, there's up to 112 in the body and 2 more outside. I don't know all of them, don't care to. I mainly work with the 7 because they're just relatable. What's up, Jay Sauber? Thank you for that $4.99. Appreciate it, brother. Good to see you, man. Yeah, Damien's definitely one of those people I'd like to get on. I don't know if I could be quiet, though. I'd probably be like, I don't know. I'd be asking a lot of questions, actually. Oh, he did? Atropa says, welcome. He said he almost lost his sight in prison. Did he say why? I don't know. Like, what happened? Did somebody, like, attack him? Was he staring at the sun or something? Like, what happened? Like, damn. Yeah, Damien Erdis Stripe is, like I said, like, I would, like, I don't know. I don't know how. I would probably be gushing a lot if I got a chance to talk to him on a live stream. It would be really cool. I'd want to meet him off air first and, like, get to know him and like, you know, have a rapport with him. I wouldn't want to just jump right into a live stream because I feel like obviously I'm very fiery. I got all them fire trines going on. I'd probably, you know, I might seem like I was like crowding him, and I want him to have as much room and to know that he's respected even if I talk over him. Does that make sense? Oh man. Scarlet Bales, thank you. 20 big ones. Thank you so much. Keep speaking your opinion, Red Heart. Thank you. I will do so. You know, most of the time my opinion's pretty respectful, so I don't know. I like to think so. But thank you, Scarlet. I really appreciate that. I really do. I see. Scarlet knows. She says sunless environment. Oh, that's right. Wasn't he in solitary? That's right. I think he was in solitary a lot. Something like that. Yeah. Made it. I get that because you know, I'm a bit nocturnal and I'll spend a lot of time in the dark, especially like in the wintertime. I'm mostly a night owl in the wintertime. And when I first go outside in like normal lighting, like my eyes just hurt. Like it's just like, ow. So I got transition glasses. So it kind of saved me from that a little bit. But I'm sure if he actually got damage, ow. I know he has an illness where he could only eat like rice for a little while. I remember seeing that video, which is pretty, you know, that kind of sucks. He almost died from that, I guess, right? He was like really malnourished for a little bit. Man, that guy, I swear. I would love to just, even just off air, just like when I met EA, I had no interest in getting him like on my show. I just wanted to talk to him and get to know him, to see what he was about and get to know like what was true and what was false about what people said. And I'm glad I did, you know, and I wish I could do the same thing with Damien. That would be really freaking cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I respect him a lot. I respect his work a lot. And, you know, I mean, I can't deny I've learned things from watching his stuff. Not necessarily things that add to my practice, but things that give me insight, you know, and that's more valuable even than things to my practice. Like, I'm not interested in other people's methods as much as I'm interested in, like, their deeper gnosis, their deeper realizations. Like, that stuff really gets me interested. Like, I could give a shit about, like, you know, this sigil and that symbol and this system and that system. I'm more interested in the source that inspires it, you know? Like, those are the symbols. I want to know the essence behind them. Like, that's always more interesting to me. Okay, William Latin with the 5 spot says, check out Midnight Gospel on Netflix. Brilliant animated show. Damien Eccles is an episode guest. Okay, I won't be using Netflix until the new Stranger Things drops because, well, partially for political reasons, because they're been a bunch of a woke assholes, but I could see around that if their price was reasonable, and they're really unreasonably priced right now. So I'm only using them when I absolutely want to watch a show. I'll sub for a month and turn it off. So when Stranger Things Part 4 drops, and or the next Cobra Kai drops, I will definitely be subscribing for a month or so to watch those. Either that or I'll hit the high seas, but I'll probably pay for that. You know what's sad is, you know, I often get asked about like Satanic Panic 2.0, and it's definitely one of those things that gets people attention. But, you know, I'm definitely seeing early rumblings now. Now, I've said before, I don't think we're going to see a Satanic Panic 2.0, and if so, it's not going to happen for a while. A panic, a moral panic, for it to actually be something of note to be worried about, requires at least three things. You have to have widespread public sentiment. That's number one. That's the root. You have to have we'll say authorities involved that are going to act on that societal interest. Okay, and then you have to have a lot of fear on top of it. So basically you have to have, the three things have to happen. You have to have the people, you have to have the government, and you have to have corporations, right? That's really what you have to have. If you only got one of those or even two of those things, you kind of don't really quite have a panic fully, or you get close. You have to have at least two, but I think three. And the Satanic Panic of the 80s and part of the 90s had all three. So you had government institutions attacking people, you had corporations attacking people, and you had people attacking people. Right now, there's really only people that are trying to say that everything that is not Christian is satanic. And look, they're rightfully pointing out that the people in the globalist sector are, a lot of them, we're going to say occultists, or, you know, practicing other things than Christianity, for sure, esoteric shit. Many of them are the continuation of old mystery schools, or the perversion of old mystery schools, like Skull and Bones, for example. They absolutely do practices that are not that different from the things that they did at the Elysian Mysteries. It's not that different. I mean, you know, they put you in a coffin. I'm sure they hit you with all kinds of chemicals, and, you know. So I guess what I'm saying is that they're definitely a continuation. And Behemoth X dropped a 21 spot with absolutely no question or comment, except to rub it into Scarlett's face that he put a 21 instead of a 20. Behemoth brother, I love you so much. Not just because you pay me. You're definitely one of the more inspiring people I've known on the internet. You're one of those few that I say is legit. Like, truly. Not just because you pay me, bro. Like, you definitely inspired me to do this. So you're not a bad guy, bro. I got to get you on here. Like, you're another one I'd like to get on. How do I get you on here? I know you've said you want to at some point, but do I have to send you a Starlink so that you have the internet so we can do it? Like, how do we do this? Like, that would be really fucking cool. Eddie says, no, I never caught the heat he did, but all of us were into the wrong things in small towns in the 80s and 90s. You know, here's the thing. I wasn't in a small town for that much time in the 80s and 90s. So I kind of got away with it without any trouble. I was, you know, I'm in like a denser suburban part of New York. So I didn't have that much of a problem. Me Too says, once the food's gone, it won't necessarily be a satanic panic. It will be who's next. I think that, at least in America, it's going to be a case of I can't get chicken for under like the price that I'm used to. And, you know, seasonal fruits and vegetables are a little harder to get, if not completely unavailable. So I don't think America's going to starve. Maybe the poorest will starve, but I think for the most part, America will be okay. For the most part, it's the third world that I'm worried about. It's the people living in Africa and India and China and all these other places that really are dependent on other countries for their food supply. Those people I'm worried about. Even America, I think that, like I said, even though we've got these food plants getting burnt down, and Scarlett says, good night, everybody. Love you, Scarlett. Thank you for coming in. Question everything. Thank you. Exactly. Even if you don't agree with me, at least question everything that I'm talking about, not just against me. I mean, like, if you trust the fucking system, what's wrong with you? How can you be a left-hand Luciferian type if you look at the government and the news and say, they must be telling me the truth? I can trust them. I better do what they say. Oh, hell no. I don't even do what the freaking weatherman says. Even if I look out the window and see he's right, I still question it. Just saying. I'm a skeptic by nature when it comes to that stuff. You've seen what happened with toilet paper. Yes, but I think the toilet paper was a little bit of a special case. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I don't think it's going to be, you know, like The Road. Like, if anybody ever see the movie The Road, I don't think we're going that way. I don't think we're going to be all starving to death. I think that the wise among us will be getting some surplus supply put away. And I think you should upgrade from 2 or 3 weeks to at least a month or 3. I mean, I'd probably go at least 3 months if you can afford it. You know, at least have it like 1 to 3 months solid, like you don't have to ration it, of extra food. You know, get some long-term storables. It can't hurt. If you ever go into a downturn, you got food to eat. It doesn't have to be because the world is coming to an end. You don't need a doomsday bunker. You just need to have a little bit of extra. This way, when crap hits the fan, you're not reliant upon the system. You want to avoid that as much as possible for as long as possible. Very few people will be able to avoid it forever. You've got those preppers that are really ready. The problem is those guys are going to get targeted by the government when push comes to shove. You know, if you've got really long-term food and you got like a bomb shelter and all this crap, if we go that far down the shithole that we need that, the government already knows you have it and they're probably going to try to take it from you. So that's all I'm saying. Like, you got to think about it rationally. Don't take out a loan to get tons of food. You know what I mean? Yeah. But here's the thing. Like I said, I know that some people go, oh, he's talking about this shit again. Sorry. Like, I tried to warn you guys. I tried. I tried being nice about it too. I'm becoming more and more like, what is it? I'm getting radicalized, right? I'm getting radicalized because the other side is so cruel. I just wanted to talk about magic, guys. That's all I ever wanted to do. I just want to talk about spirituality and magic. It's not my idea to fuck the world up. That wasn't my idea. What's up, Tasha? Tasha's here. Kind of sucks because I'm going to be bouncing out in like, what, 15 minutes? How long was my... Yeah, I got about 20 minutes. So I got about 20 minutes. I actually have work early tomorrow. I decided to pull an extra shift tomorrow, so. Schaefer says jihad. Hey, you know, I mean it like in the Dune sense. You know. The Butlerian jihad. Let's go for it. But, I mean, do you guys remember when the toilet paper, you know, run happened? Do you guys remember that? And I'm sitting here with a stack of them with a shotgun, like as a joke. Because it's like, we had a lot of toilet paper. We're, you know, I'm like a small time prepper. I'm not a big time prepper. I'm a small time. I'm a little bit. And I shouldn't even say that much because people are like, don't tell people you prep. Well, I'm saying it as like a role model. You guys should do a little bit too, but I'm never going to tell you what I actually have. Like, you're not going to know. If you come looking for it, you'll be getting the lead that I have stored up first. Sushi brings up, what do you think about lucid dreaming? And have you tried using magnesium before bed to get more vivid dreams? I have lucid dreams all the time. Lucid dreaming is actually one of the most common. I'm going to say like out of 10 dreams, I have 2 that are lucid. The problem is that my lucid dreams don't give me superpowers. It's just like, oh, I'm dreaming. Oh, I'm awake. You know, it's kind of like that. And to me, lucid dreaming, the best equivalent, like I think of lucid dreaming and I ask the question, well, what does it mean to be lucid when you're awake? So when you're sleeping and you realize you're dreaming, there's actually no difference between that and having a moment of gnosis or samadhi when you realize you're divine. It's basically the same thing. As for magnesium, no, I have not tried that. Sounds tempting though. Me Too's bouncing out of here. That's fine. Thank you for coming, Me Too. Appreciate you. Always good to see you. Infernal Eve is asking, where's Flesh Priest? Well, he tastes really good with ketchup. You know, we ran into some hard. No, Fleshy's taking a long-term hiatus from everything social media. He is not active on any Discord, on any social media. He will talk to me and other people privately on Discord, but he is pretty much incognito and off the radar and off the reservation for a little while. He is not interested in doing videos for a while. There's many reasons for that. I think he burnt out on some of it. I think he had a lot of work to do. His life is very busy. And I think that, you know, he just needed a break from it. You know, he's a Gemini, so he can flippy flop every now and then, I guess. You know, he can totally do a, if you think he's going to go straight, sooner or later he might zig on you. You got to watch out for that zag too, because he likes to do both. I don't know if Fleshy bought Elden Ring. I did. I don't know if Fleshy did. I don't think he did. I think he wanted to. I know if he did, we'd lose him forever because he's a big fanatic for Dark Souls type games. I kind of burned out on Elden Ring. I think I played it for like almost 50 hours. And I'm like, I can't play a game that long. I'm good for like 20, 25 hours. Unless it's like an MMO, then I can kind of stick with it. But something about single player games, I'm good for like 20 hours. 25, give or take. Like 40 hours to me is like, if it's longer than 40 hours, I'm probably not gonna beat it. Elden Ring was also bad for me because it's got an addictive quality, especially because it stresses you out in a good way. Like it's just hard enough so that I will fight a boss 3 or 4 times. I'll start getting mad. Then I'll finally beat him. And that endorphin rush of beating him is like, oh my God. So then I want to keep playing. And the problem is it kind of gives me not anxiety, but it kind of pulls me out of my mellow because like, I don't know, like I have to keep my reaction time up. So I'm a little bit more adrenalized, I guess. I don't know. And sometimes I'll be playing a game like, oh, like, I don't know. I just get really like worked up, like in a good way. I don't get really angry. Although I'm not going to lie. I've definitely yelled at the game once or twice, but not in a bad way. Like not like, you know, a little bit. You can ask my wife. I've definitely yelled at the game once or twice, but it's been like a fuck this game, I love it type of thing. Like, God damn it, fuck you. How did you hit me, fucker? And then it's like, man, that was fucking awesome. You know, I don't hold a grudge. I think it's a great game. So, you know, I had to put it down because it was just messing with my head too. I kind of burnt out though, because I kind of got my guy, I think he's like level 80 something. And I'm using the scythes. Like I like using the wing scythe. And then I started double scything and I like to use holy magic or whatever it is. And that was kind of my jam. And I was doing really good with that. But then it was like I reached a point where there wasn't really anything to do except just keep stacking ability points. Like there wasn't any new items to get or anything that I wanted. So I kind of just didn't care anymore. And like, I don't know, I kind of burnt out on that. But I don't know, I really should go back and at least try to beat the main campaign, but I don't know. Maybe I will. I need a break from it. I actually bought 3 games today and I shouldn't have because I have like, now that's 7 games I haven't even installed or played yet that I really should. But I bought IL Sturmovik because my son said I would like it. And I got, I don't remember the name of it, but it's kind of like an FTL clone. I forget the name. It's like, what is it called? Let me see if I can find it. Trigon Space Story. Yeah, that was the other one. Yeah. Petropa says, I have a recipe for lucid dreaming. Offhand, it is lysine, kava kava, B12, something else I forget, and the shit worked. Kava kava, I have some. Here's the problem. I think it's got carbs in it, so I haven't really tried it much. I think I tried it once, but I didn't want to overdo it because I'm pretty sure it doesn't say it on here. But when I looked it up, I'm pretty sure it actually had enough carbs that I was like, probably not. Probably not. And I don't want to do it on a work day. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot. We of course we say that without, this is not medical advice, and I'm not telling you what supplements to take and anything like that. Yeah, and Fernleaf says, not like throwing the controller with the original NES. Yep, for sure. I've done that at least once. Of course, I was a young kid, but I remember when I beat Ninja Gaiden 2. That was like the greatest. That and beating the original Legend of Zelda. Like, those two to me were like, that was like finding your first pubic hair or something. Like, I just felt like I came of age when I did that. It was fucking great. Like, oh, I'm a man now. Yeah, Tropo, if you get, if you can remember or find your notes or whatever, like, send it to me on Discord. Maybe I'll see if I can get it together and try it. It sounds like fun. You know, actually, one thing I have used, that actually helps a bunch is, I made like a dream pillow, and I put inside of it mugwort, I think mugwort, peppermint, and I forget what the third thing was. It might have been wormwood, but I think it was just mugwort and peppermint. I'll have to look it up again. But I stuffed it in there really good, and I keep it in a metal tin so it doesn't get too funky. And every now and then I'll sleep with it under my pillow. And when I do, like bam, I get like really good dreams, very vivid dreams, if not lucid dreams. So. Yeah, like I said, like lucid dreams, like I actually have them quite frequently. They're just not superpower dreams. Like, I'll realize I'm dreaming, and before I can really get into doing anything, I'm just going, oh, I know I'm dreaming. Okay, that's interesting. And it's more of like, I wonder what'll happen next. Like, I don't suddenly get the ability to do stuff necessarily, like some people claim. But I will tell you that the definition of a lucid dream is not superpowers, it's just realizing you're dreaming. And that's synonymous with someone who's had samadhi and recognizes that they are dreaming even now. So. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to start wrapping it up. I got about 10 minutes left. So, of course, we have to do the Buy Our Crap segment, since so many of you have tuned in and tuned out. I want to thank all of the Super Chat people again. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for spending your money on me, little old opinionated me who likes to upset the easily triggered egos of the weak-minded. I apologize to you. Yeah, trigger me timbers. Like, where's that meme of Alec Baldwin with his finger on the trigger going, triggered? Like, yeah, fuck you, bro. But to everybody else who isn't a jerk and understands my tongue-in-cheek nature? What's a naker? Tongue-in-cheek nature. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to help me out, like, share, and subscribe, or of course check out the links in the description if you want to purchase my books or anything else. I am not offering services right now. I am also going to be going on hiatus for my teaching class, my meditation class, for about a month. I'm going to be off duty. I do not have the time or energy to do it for this month. For at least the month of May. I'll probably come back at some point in June. If that means you want to cancel your membership for a while, that's perfectly fine. I may be back sometime in June to do that. I'll be announcing it on Patreon anyway. But if you still want to do it, the cool thing is I've just released the playlist for all of the classes up till now. There's something like 36 classes recorded. They're between 1 and 2 hours. So if you join my Patreon at $20 or the video class level, you get access to that. And it's really a pretty decent deal, dude. That's like, whatever, 2.5, between 1 to 2 hours for each video. That's something around 50, 70 hours worth of stuff. So interesting stuff. All right. There, oh, and our Etsy page, my wife has put up some new mirrors recently. So if you're interested, check out the Etsy page. We have probably the most unique handmade scrying mirrors, at least among the most unique handmade scrying mirrors on the market. They're in the Trinity design, which means they're a triangle. They're definitely different. And they're decorated with obsidian and UV active elements like eyes and all kinds of stuff. So she really works hard to make those. So if you're interested, check out our Etsy. I also have some necklaces there left. I think I have like 3 left now. But these are the Trinity of Self pendants, if you're interested in that. I don't know if I put them up here. I don't think you care. You guys know what that is, right? I don't think I have to care. Like I said, I'm not the greatest businessman because I'm more interested in, you know, speaking my mind these days than making money. And if people want to support me with money, I appreciate that. If you don't, that's fine too. It's just an option. So, all right, let's see. 5 minutes to go. Any quick, easy question? Like, ask me like what my favorite like color is or something. I don't know. Atropa, especially if you've got a special, so you're saying you want to get a mirror and you want to get a big one. If you have anything in mind, send a message to the store when you're ready, and you can start a custom order with my wife potentially. She might be willing to do it if you want to get the really big ones that she does. They're not cheap, but yeah, it's going to be at least until the summer before she starts it, because yeah, she wouldn't be able to start it till about June because she's working what, 72 hours a week right now? Yeah, like something like 70 plus hours a week right now. So she doesn't have the time, but in June her schedule changes, so she'll be able to do custom orders at that point. So William Latin says, "Peace out, homeboy." Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So anyway, guys, that'll do it. I don't see much else popping up. Remember, what they're doing because they are scared. They're in a bad spot. They're not winning the way they thought they would. They're reacting. They're not responding. They're on the ropes in a manner of speaking. I know it looks bad. I know it looks like they have all of the power. You get the government you tolerate. If you don't tolerate what they're doing, it will end. And we've all got to stand up to it. We've all got to do little acts of resistance. You don't have to go out and throw bricks at windows and dumb shit, but you've got to vote, you've got to talk, you've got to grow a pair, and you've got to resist. You have to be vocal. And that will do it. That will do it. Because all of that helps people who do act. Just because you can't do anything, maybe all you can do is make a meme or post it or speak up for what you believe in. All of that will help encourage people who do act to act. I don't know if I'm ballsy or stupid, but I didn't care and wait for people to support me to start speaking my mind. I just did it. And you guys support me, so I'm okay with doing it. So do that for other people. If you see somebody speaking out like I'm speaking, defend them, because they're going to get haters. A lot of people aren't used to this. Defend those people, help them, support them to speak out, because the more people speak out, then the people who are willing to take action will take action, and so on. It's how this works. It's how society works. So don't be afraid anymore. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you in a week.